Hi everyone, this is Master Matt, and today we're going to go over the basic Taekwondo punch. I'm going to talk about the positioning of the hand and fist, as well as incorporating the body movements as a whole. And of course, we're going to talk about the technique of the strike itself. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's talk about the fist. In order to make a proper fist, we're going to go ahead and open our hands wide like this, and then we're going to curl our fingers into our palm nice and tight, and we're going to take our thumbs and wrap them around the front of the fist, not the side and not the bottom, but the front of the knuckles like this. Make sure that you're not putting the thumb inside of the fist, because that's an easy broken thumb if you ever try to punch something with a fist like this. So the thumbs are going to be on the outside of the fist, and then we want to make sure that our fists are tight. We don't want any air pockets inside of the fist, because if you're punching in the air, it's fine, but if you ever start to punch to condition your fist or to punch a board or anything like that, all those air pockets are going to mean injury for your fist and not a proper punch. So we're going to make sure our fists are tight like this, and then we can move on. So now that we can make a fist, we're going to go ahead and talk about which part of the fist to hit with. I want you to go ahead and make your fists, and I want you to look at the two knuckles on the front of your hand. That's the pointer finger and the middle finger. I want you to look at those two knuckles. Those are the two that we're going to be punching with primarily. The reason is, if you take a look at the anatomy of your skeleton, and if you look at the metacarpal bones coming from these two knuckles, and you follow them down the arm, they're going to be in line with the radius and the ulna, the arm bones, through my locked elbow all the way back to my shoulder. So when I punch with these two knuckles, I'm going to be reinforced by the entirety of my arm. Now, on the contrary, if I look at the two outer knuckles and I follow those metacarpals, they're going to be angled. So if I hit with those on a solid object, that's going to go ahead and pull my fist to the side, and that's going to injure my wrist. Or if you've ever heard of a boxer's fracture, that's when you fractured these metacarpals on the outside of your hand because of punching improperly. So we're built to use these front two knuckles. If you look at your hand, these two knuckles should be the biggest ones. So when I punch, I'm going to just curve my hand just slightly to where these two knuckles are the ones that are protruding in front. That way I'm punching with the strongest part of my hand, and I'm reinforced by the rest of my body. So now that we have our fists, we're going to go ahead and practice a few punches. So first we're going to get into our horse stance as we do in Taekwondo. We're going to bend our knees nice and deep. We're going to take our fists and put them on the ribs. I don't want to be too low, and I don't want to be too high, and I don't want to be in the middle of my body. I want to be nice and on the side with my elbows straight back like so. So first we're going to punch with one of our hands. We're going to bring it to the middle, and I want to make sure that I'm punching in the center of my solar plexus, which is the middle of my chest. So in other words, I don't want to be in line with my shoulder when I'm punching. I want to be in the center of my body, in the middle line of my body, and I don't want to be too low or too high. I want to be in the middle of my chest. And I'm going to do the same with the opposite hand here. So if I were to try to punch with both hands at the same time, they would get in each other's way. So I shouldn't be able to do this. So again, I'm punching to the center of my body with the two knuckles that we talked about, and doing the same on the opposite hand. Go ahead and practice these slow before you get the hang of it. Now, in order to punch with speed and power, as I'm sure you're all hoping to do, we're going to start by talking about our breathing. So when I'm punching, I should be breathing out, exhaling with the punch, or I could even perform a kiap, which is the Korean word for yell. So I want to punch and breathing out with my punch, because if I'm holding all that air inside of me, I'm keeping a lot of the power that I could be using. So when I breathe out or yell, "Aya!" all of that energy is flowing out through my punch. So I want to time my breathing with the way that I'm punching. Also, you notice that our hands are upside down when they're on our ribs, so that they have to twist when they punch. We want to time that twist to happen at the very end of our extension of the arm. If we do that twist too early and punch, I'm taking away a lot of the power that I could be using. So I want to wait until the very last second to twist, because that's just going to give it a little extra pop of energy into the punch that we're trying to execute. Lastly, we're going to talk about how to really maximize the power output of your punches. So let's say we have one of our hands out, and when we're switching hands, so when I'm pulling this hand in and punching with my opposite hand, I want to imagine that I'm pulling power from this hand into my body, and then I'm executing that power out into the other hand for the punch. So I'm really transferring the power in a circle to my opposite hand each time. So I want you to imagine doing that when you're switching hands when you're punching. As well, this is a technique that's going to take a while to master, but when you're punching with one hand, you're going to take the shoulder on that hand and just push it out to where your hip as well is in the punch, and then you're going to pull those back to their original position at the very end. So I'm just slightly pushing them forward and then pulling them back at the end. It's not exaggerated to the point where I'm turning my body with each punch. It's just a very slight motion that's going to incorporate the hip and the shoulder into your punches as well. So make sure that you're exhaling, make sure that you're transferring the energy in your body, and practicing the motions of the body that are necessary to maximize the efforts in your punch. So there you have it. That is the very basic rundown of the Taekwondo punch. We talked about how to position our hands, we talked about how to position our body, and we talked about how to use our body in order to maximize the power and speed of our punches. I hope this helps you learn, and I hope you can practice from this video. Thank you guys for watching, and keep training.